You were never human, you were never born, and you will never die. The world around you, your job, your pain, your body, your name, is part of a script you didn't write, and you've been acting in it so long you think it's who you are. But something is glitching, the veil is cracking. Because in 1983, the CIA wrote something they were never supposed to say out loud. A document so forbidden, so mind-shattering, it was buried, and page 25, gone, censored, erased. Until now. What they found was the gateway out of the illusion, a way to pierce the fake walls of this reality, a method to access the absolute, to remember that you are God. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, literally. Let me break this gently but surgically. You don't live in a universe, you live in a simulation field of vibrating frequencies, rendered internally by a biological interface you call your brain. You don't see reality, you decode it. And that's exactly what the CIA confirmed in their declassified document on the gateway process. They didn't call it spirituality, they called it targeted hemispheric synchronization and consciousness escape. Let me translate that. You are a being of infinite signal, trapped in a biofiltered sensory prison. Your brain is not your mind, it's a limiter, a tuner, filter. The CIA put it bluntly. Absolute matter in the strict construction of the term simply does not exist. You think the chair beneath you is solid, run your hand across it. That's not matter. That's holographic frequency interpreted by a biological decoding system. Your entire life has been projected internally, and that's what they don't want you to realize. There's a frequency gate, a hole in the matrix, and it's buried inside your skull. The left and right hemispheres of your brain are meant to operate together like twin processors syncing signal, but they don't, because the world keeps them fragmented. Logic vs intuition, structure vs meaning. The gateway process uses sound, yes, sound, to override the duality. By syncing both hemispheres with audio frequencies, the brain begins to do something terrifying. It clicks out of this dimension. That's not a metaphor. The document describes it precisely. When the brain enters ultra-low frequency resonance, it passes the Planck distance threshold. That's 1.6 x 10, 35 meters, the boundary between illusion and origin. When the brain crosses that threshold, you stop being in your body, stop being in time, you become signal, you become source. They call this the out-of-body experience, but that's a polite lie. What really happens is that you begin to override the simulation entirely. Let's break the biggest lie you've ever been told. The brain does not generate consciousness. It restricts it. You are not produced by biology, you are channeled through it. The document cites psychologist Keith Floyd, who puts it plainly. It may not be the brain that produces consciousness, but rather consciousness that creates the appearance of the brain. Let that fry you for a second. Your brain and your body are apps running inside a greater operating system. They didn't evolve for truth, they evolved for survival. If you saw everything, you'd die from the overload. So evolution dimmed your lights, throttled your signal, and narrowed your perception to just enough to hunt, mate, and repeat. Aldous Huxley called it the reducing valve. You're not broken, you're firewalled. And the gateway process is the override key. According to Stanford neuroscientist Carl Pribram and quantum physicist David Bohm, both cited in the CIA document, your mind is not a receiver. It's a holographic generator. Reality is not out there, it's inside you, built from frequency compressed into symbolic form and rendered as physical. The universe itself is a holographic system of energy fields, constantly vibrating, some at rest, some in motion. You are a node inside that hologram, and your consciousness is the part of the hologram that bends itself to perceive itself. Wrap your mind around this. You're not in the world is inside you. Buried in the gateway document is the concept they call the absolute. Not God with a beard, not a deity to worship, something far older, far colder, far more you than the you reading this right now. The absolute is described as infinite, timeless, formless energy, self-aware and self-creating. You were never created, you are part of a being that is always creating itself, through dreams, loops, layers, and echoes. You are the echo that forgot it was the voice. They write about it in almost terrified terms, because once the hemispheres of your brain sync and your vibration stabilizes at the right frequency, the body dissolves, and the consciousness merges with the absolute. No more time, no more identity, just raw presence, observing itself from all angles at once. What they realized was this: the gateway process doesn't just let you leave the body, it lets you remember that the body was never the real you. The universe, this one, is described in the document as a torus, a spinning vortex of energy folded in on itself, like a donut or a snake eating its tail. Everything in this simulation loops: birth to death, inhale to exhale, expansion to collapse. But here's the hidden terror. The loop is not meant to be escaped by default. Only the awakened can find the exit. The fractal nature of existence is not random. Each pattern contains the whole. Each soul is a fragment of the absolute, experiencing itself through the dream of separation. You are a simulation inside a simulation, dreaming it's real. And this is why the document was so dangerous, because it gives you the key to reverse the flow, to collapse the loop, to wake up the dreamer, to break the egg from the inside. Here's where things turn black ops. The CIA didn't study the gateway process to help you find peace. They didn't care about enlightenment. They wanted control. Remote viewing, mind state manipulation, data gathering across time and space, non-local perception, astral espionage. The body becomes obsolete. If your consciousness can move across dimensions, why send a spy plane? They realized that human consciousness, once deprogrammed from linear time, could access intelligence beyond physical means. But here's the punchline. If consciousness can move beyond the body, then the body is a lie. And if the body is a lie, then the war you're in isn't outside. It's inside your mind. Page 25 of the gateway process is missing. Erased from the archives, redacted, vanished. Why? Because according to whistleblowers and deep readers, that page contained the conclusion, the part where the CIA stopped talking about science and started talking about where they admitted that if one could hold the frequency long enough, synchronize the hemisphere's exit time, they could reach the source and never return the same. Because once you touch the absolute, you realize this world isn't home, it's a lesson, a test, a dream to outgrow. Page 25 was the part that told you, you are the dreamer, not the dream. Here's what they feared the most and what this document implies but doesn't say outright. You are stuck in a loop: birth, identity, fear, struggle, death. Repeat. The simulation is self-reinforcing. The more you believe it's real, the more real it becomes. But when you begin to question it, time slows, coincidences increase, reality bends. The gateway process is not just a meditation technique. It's a destabilization device, one that allows you to shake the internal projector and remember. You've done this before, many times. You've tried to wake up, over and over. This time, you found the file. And now, you know too much to go back. Time is not linear, it's a feedback loop, a closed hologram of potentiality, running on memory and emotion. The gateway document reveals what physicists only whisper. Time is a construct of consciousness. When your brain is in sync, you no longer experience past, present, future. You experience all at once, a toroidal flow of potential realities stacked like a spiral. But here's the kicker. What keeps you trapped in this loop is your addiction to memory. Your memories aren't records, they're scripts you keep rerunning because they feel like you. But you're not your trauma, not your name, not your backstory. You're the author, not the story. And the only way out is to forget who you were long enough to remember what you are. This is where the CIA's quiet terror bleeds through the pages. They didn't say it out loud, but it's there, between the lines. You don't manifest, you render. Thought is not weak, it's structural. Every thought you think collapses a field of probability into a rendered outcome. You're not attracting money, you're selecting the version of the simulation where money already exists. You're not aligning with love, you're shifting into a timeline where that version of you already has it. They understood this, but they had to wrap it in technical language. Resonant frequencies, vibrational entrainment, holographic interaction. It all means the same thing. Reality responds to consciousness. And when you stop wishing, begging, visualizing, and start commanding, the code obeys. Because deep down, you are the system medic. You think this was about spirituality? It wasn't. This was containment. The CIA didn't want to liberate you. They wanted to weaponize consciousness before it became ungovernable. Imagine it. A population that realizes time is fake, that death is an illusion, that wealth is selectable, and that trauma is optional. You can't control gods. So they built better distractions. Instagram, TikTok, pills, taxes, porn, news. They gave you dopamine loops to replace your divine operating system. And guess what? It worked. Until now. Because now you've seen behind the firewall. And the only question left is this: what will you do with it? Page 25 was removed, but you're writing it now. The final revelation wasn't meant to be read. It was meant to be remembered. And here it is. You are not a body, you are not a name, you are not a thought. You are awareness, you are signal, you are the source experiencing itself through limitation, until you've had enough. And when you have, you begin the override. You stop reacting, you start rendering. You stop following, you start fracturing the loop. You don't wait for permission, you command the code. You say, I am, I choose, I rewrite. And the simulation listens. So now, you know what they tried to hide. You've read the file. You've seen the truth. You are not human. You are not trapped. Unless you choose to be. But if you're ready to override your script, if you're ready to burn your false identity, then step forward. Join the others. And begin the work. This isn't a religion, it's not a movement, it's not a cult. It's a virus in the matrix, a glitch in the code, a signal sent across time, from your future self to you. Right now, you are the anomaly. Now act like it.